And hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Exceptional Experience Podcast, an ECAC podcast. I know it's been a while since we come to you live, but we're excited to be back. I'm one of your hosts, Billy Pickens, and I'm joined by my good friend Maya Warren. Maya, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Excited to get this episode underway because we have a special guest.
That's right, we do. We have Zay, one of the members of our Junior Youth Advisory team at ECAC. Zay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Billy?
I'm doing amazing. It's been a while since I've seen you, so great to catch up with you again.
Glad to catch up with you.
So thank you for joining us today on the podcast, and definitely going to get a little bit into your story and your experience, and also your experience with the Junior Youth Advisory team. But I guess we'll start with some introductions. So, Zay, tell people a little bit about yourself. Whatever
I'm
you want to know.
I'm Zay. I'm a gymnast. I play trombone. I write my own music, and I hang out with friends. Yeah, so that's really it about me. Kind of basic, but not basic at the same time.
That's awesome. Yeah, Billy and I are music fans. I'm a music artist, so I like writing my own songs as well, and hanging out with people. And I think when we think about the Exceptional Experience podcast, one of the things that we like to prioritize is just making sure people understand that people with disabilities are just people. If you don't mind sharing with everyone, what's your specific disability or conditions, eh?
Uh, I have dyslexia, ADHD, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all kind of affect me in the school setting in their
Mm-hmm.
own unique way.
Cool. So what grade are you in currently?
I'm I'm going into eighth grade.
Oh,
Wow,
awesome. Man, time flies.
growing up, yeah.
So
Was
now that you're heading into like your last year of middle school, what is something that you're looking forward to?
Uh, I'm kind of looking forward to because the eighth graders last year had a lot more respect and
Mm-hmm.
they got to do a lot more than the seventh graders. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. More
yeah,
freedom.
definitely gonna have that. So, what has your experience been like so far, especially navigating dyslexia uh, in school growing up, um, with your teachers and with your fellow peers? What has your experience been like?
My experience has been different depending on the school I'm in. So I'll just walk it back for just I'll give you a speed run for it, but not too fast. I'll keep it short but fast. So let I was in, let's say I think it was first grade, and my teachers didn't really know how to help me. uh, they kind of just brought me and like a tutor. It wasn't really the best thing. It wasn't really the best thing for me, I'd
Hmm.
say. So it's kind of hard trying to figure out what you need at that age. But moving on to like second grade, the same thing kind of happened. But I did get kind of put in lower math classes. Even though I was in like second grade, I was doing first grade math, and first grade reading. So honestly, it kind of overall made me affect how I thought about myself as a person. And yeah, moved on to third grade. I went to a different in third grade. I transitioned to a different school called the New Classical Academy, and there, all right, I'm just saying, all we did was really sit and work. And I don't think that's the best for a dyslexic brain. Like we like kind of just did work all day. Yeah, we had a really long recess, but all we did was work all day. Moving on later that year, I went to a different school called Thrive. Thrive, well, we had a lot of problems with Thrive. Let's just say that. But one of the main issues was teachers respecting me, particularly in my disability. Like my math teacher, she would just do one day of work and expect all the kids to get it,
Mm.
and that wasn't the best case for me. Even though they said they prioritized teaching dyslexic and dysgraphic people, it didn't really happen. So now and later, like the next year, I was still at Thrive. It was just like bad negativity vibes, I'd say. And I had another teacher. Her name was Miss Cheryl, who like would give me like He would give me a bunch of tests and not really like understand why I was getting a super low score, even though I understood it in class. But that's because I didn't have the reinforcement skills used like it needed to make sure I understood it, and they weren't providing those reinforcement skills. Um, Otherwise,
Oh, you're muted.
Uh, yeah.
they really started understanding me. Like later on the next year, I went to a different school called, uh, well, scratch that, more of the same school, but it's changed a lot. The school is called Odyssey Community School, and this year I'm just gonna say I like went miles from where I was when I was at Thrive. At Thrive, my grades were like really bad. At Odyssey, my grades are all B's and C for the entire years, B's and A's and C's. Which at Thrive I got like C's most of the time, but I got like one C in the first semester, and in the second semester I got A's and B's. But what made this school really stand out is how they tried to understand the kids, and I
Right.
feel like that's what the schools are missing, trying to understand the kids. If you can understand the kid before like saying work, 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 you'll get to actually know the kid, and that makes it easier for the kid to learn. So I would say this year was my best year, my best school experience. But it was still, I still faced challenges. There were so many accommodations that needed to be made just for me. I still faced a bunch of challenges. Like, like honestly, I had to miss like a lot to go work with a tutor. Sometimes I missed field trips to go work with the tutor, and then sometimes the work was just too much, so we had to make an accommodation for me on the work. So accommodations are helpful, but sometimes they can feel like they're pulling you down, even though they're trying to support you.
Yeah. And it's interesting as you were able to one articulate just how long of a journey this has been for you trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. Um, but it sounds like as a student, you're self-aware enough to know when something's not a good fit for you.
Right.
Um, can you talk about some things that do help you in the classroom that you figured out, or just in daily life?
I would say some things that like help me in the classroom is just like honestly having like good supportive friends. Friends are important. Having supportive teachers is another big thing. This year
Mm-hmm.
I had the most supportive teachers. Even if they weren't really like the best people, they were so super supportive of me, and it brought my grades from here to here. So
Mm-hmm.
there's like a huge difference between like having supportive people in your life versus negative people.
Mm-hmm.
And so here are like a bunch of good things. Grades went up. My map testing scores went up. My
Mm-hmm.
like yeah. So everything like kind of went up, and I love like having the support you need is super important. It's key. It's key. Instead of having that support is gonna build you up to new heights versus
Mm-hmm.
not having the support. Well, not having the support, you're gonna crumble. Like let's take a bridge. You can't have a bridge without the support.
Mm-hmm.
The
And when
cable.
you say support, what does that look like? Because sometimes support can look like somebody cheering you on or being encouraging. Support can look like people being patient with you. What does support look like for you?
I would say accommodations and people cheering me on, like and people not judging. Here's another thing I'm gonna say: not judging people is key.
Mm-hmm.
Not judging people because they're different,
Mm-hmm.
supporting them
Right.
because they're different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they judge you on what you look like, what you if you're not good at like math or
Mm-hmm.
writing. Like don't judge people. Get to know people first
Mm-hmm.
and and elevate them, push
Mm-hmm.
them
Yeah.
up. But
Yeah.
support, but
Zay,
support
you want
right.
some good news? I'm 27. I'm not good at math, so you're all right.
Well, you bring up a good point, Zay. And this past Thursday, I was at a camp for the blind and visually impaired that Billy and I both attended like over 10 years ago. And I was there speaking. And I was talking to some people, some students who were I would say freshmen, sophomores, some of them seniors in high school. And while I was speaking, one of the things I tried to focus on is, I had to, there's an anonymous quote that people don't care what you know until they know that you care, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we talked about. And a lot of times, I'll raise the question in those settings, how many of you feel like a burden, right? And almost everybody will say, yeah, that they either feel like a burden or have felt like a burden. And most of the time, that's a feeling that we get that nobody necessarily verbally said you're a burden. But we project that on to other people in our lives. And then there are cases in the classroom where even though someone's not saying you're a burden, certain things that they do can come off in a certain way that makes you feel like, oh, well, I don't want to ask for help because I don't want to inconvenience my teacher or my fellow classmate. Um, and one of the things I was talking about is even in those moments, even though it's hard, you still gotta to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Because communication is a muscle that if you don't exercise it, it really does atrophy or gets weaker when it's time for you to graduate and do whatever it is you're called to do in life. So can you talk about how communication has played a role in your self advocacy so far?
Yeah. Communication is a major part of self advocacy. I'm actually really glad you brought that up because I'm thinking back 2 years ago. I didn't know how to self advocate, but so how self advocate help how self advocating help is I can go up to my teacher and be like, hey, this isn't working for my brain. Can we try something else? And if that doesn't work, I can do it again. But the biggest thing with self advocacy is
Hmm.
keep trying till you meet those goals. Like try till you get what your brain needs or what you need.
And say I love that you said that because I think, especially when it comes to back to the burdening conversation, yeah, there may be some people that feel that way, and that's how they feel. But I always see it, in threes or even tens. So if one person may not be willing to help you, or they may feel like you're a burden, in my experience, there's always been somebody there that is, especially in school, especially in settings. More than likely, teachers want to learn as much as they like to teach. They want to learn as well, and so as much as it may seem like you're being a burden to one person, somebody out there is going to be more than willing to help. So I love how you said keep trying, keep asking for help. No matter what, because you will find somebody that is willing to help. But I wanted to take things as comfortable as you are sharing to your home life, and maybe your interactions with friends. Uh, what has your experience been as far as support from family and friends when it comes to your navigating dyslexia or just navigating life in general? How supportive have they been?
Uh, my family's super supportive of trying to help me get what I need. They're very supportive. Friend, honestly, if I'm being for real, my friends don't really care. Like, all they care about is like if I'm being a good friend. It's like they don't hear what I look like, what like my disabilities are. My my friends are what honestly keep me going like through school, because it's like sometimes I like feel myself getting like way down in the dumps and stuff, but having my friends there to push me up, because it all comes back to that support. What having them to push me up is so helpful when I'm feeling low. They remind me to push myself to keep going constantly. Same with my family. My home life is so helpful. My mom even goes in to have meetings with the teacher with me there to make sure I'm getting what I need heard. And even it also comes back to self advocacy, but she's kind of being a major advocate for me. But like she's making sure I'll tell her what I need. I'm technically self advocating to her what I need, but she's helping me redirect it in a way that teachers and other people can understand it.
That's awesome. You spoke earlier about your interest and your experience with music as well, and I would love to hear a story as to how you got into that and how that's benefited you and affected you in your journey, your experience?
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up because I was really hoping I could talk about my music. My music, I just recently started rapping, singing, and stuff like that. But my music is what keeps me going. My music helps me in so many different ways to process what I was feeling through the day. I even have like a little notebook that I write my rhymes. Like I'll be dropping
Mm,
bars. Like I'll be drop bars just about my day every single day just to help me get like particularly if I'm having a hard day just to help me get over the hump of that day. And gymnastics has always been something that comes super natural to me. So I just tried flipping, and that's another good way of exercising my body, keeping my body fit, and keeping my mind clear. Because to do gymnastics, you can't have a clogged head, or you'll mess up.
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. Who are some of the artists and that have influenced you in your writing and your playing or whatever it may be?
Simone Biles is definitely a big one because my goal for gymnastics is to be able to outdo her one day.
Mm-hmm.
And music, I kind of want to be a major music. Like I kind of want to be a professional rapper or singer. So an influence for me is someone I listen to a lot is Kendrick Lamar. Not the cleanest lyrics, but I make my raps clean.
Well, he's a good one to have right now.
Yeah, Kendrick versus Drake. No, but
Yeah.
like having him as an as an idol is very helpful for my music. Honestly, like Kendrick, J. Cole is another good one that I really like listening to. But
Yeah,
That's
Cole's great.
Kendrick brings it back all the way to the originals for me. Like uh oh my gosh, one of my favorite songs of his is "Not Like Us" because of the diss track. But he like whenever I listen to his music, he just kind of clears my head, and it
Mm-hmm.
helps so much. That's what makes him an idol. But part of the reason I want to become a famous singer is to advocate for people
mm-hmm.
who are scared to advocate for themselves. Like I want to start. I write music about anti-bullying, anti like racism and stuff like that.
That's cool. You
Yeah.
talked about having a notebook where you write your bars. So I've been a songwriter since I was in the fourth grade, and I'm 26. Um, and now that I'm an artist, singer songwriter, uh, I get to go into spaces when I'm doing keynote speaking engagements and talk about my music, or if I'm mentoring, other people who are younger than me. I get to bring up my music, and I advocate in my music, and it becomes a tool. One, to share your own story and be transparent, but then also to hone your sound. And one of the remarks I get is that my sound is different. Um, and I think a lot of that happens when you've gone through things and you're able to communicate it effectively. It really does help. And you're able to tell a story, right? Even if you're rapping, even if you're singing, you're able to tell a story in a way that nobody else can tell a story, particularly your own story.
Yeah.
So Billy, as we land the plane, is there a final question that you have for Zay?
I would love to ask. You're still part of our teen youth advisory team, right?
Yes.
So, what has your experience been like with that? And let people know what are some of the things that you've experienced and how's that worked out for you so far?
Some of the things I've experienced was my first time there. I actually got accepted into the newsletter for writing about me. Something I really learned there is to be yourself. It's taught me how to be myself more, open, unique, and yeah. Another big thing is I learned how to self advocate. I learned how to explain how to self advocate to people. I learned. Actually, I'm just gonna give myself a little shout out. But I was just at what's it called? I introduced the keynote speaker uh for this black intervention about with kids who had disabilities, and yeah, I got to introduce the keynote speaker and just tell a little about myself. I actually introduced myself with the rap, so yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So yeah, honestly, it's been amazing working with the youth advisory team. It's honestly taught me so much. It's taught me how to be a better person, a better advocate for other people when they need it.
That's awesome. It sounds like it's definitely giving you an opportunity to expand your influence too, right? One of the things that I tell people is um like leadership, it starts at a very early age. And my dad, my father figure, has a quote, and he says that everybody who has influence is a leader. And that's what you are, Zay, and it's cool to see you get to spread your wings. On that note, Billy, can you take us out?
Well, we'd like to first thank Zay for joining us today. It's been a really great conversation. We wish you didn't have to end so soon, but glad you were able to join us today. And glad you would hang out today. And want to thank everybody for listening. Also, thank ECAC, the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center, for sponsoring this podcast. Continue to allow Maya and I to put it on consistently, and uh, you can give them a call and reach out, and definitely be willing to check their website. Definitely willing to help you with any needs you might have. With that being said, uh, remember to glow and shine. And from all of us here at ECAC, we will see you next time.